Welcome. This is part 5 of an ongoing series where I talk about how I would handle the next Mario Kart game if I had the ability to call the shots. If you want a better idea of what this actually is, I explain it all in the first video, and it's probably going to be necessary to watch that video to fully understand what's going on here, although I obviously recommend watching the rest of the series too. This video is going to be focusing on the vehicles, and this wasn't actually something I had in my original plan. I never found vehicle customization options all that interesting, at least not to consider for a future game. I guess that's one of the worst parts about the current system. While it is customizable, it doesn't feel like your vehicle choice is all that interesting. So I thought, how could I change that? And does it need to change? Many like customization, but I've started to see more and more people growing tired of it. Some people just want to have an option to go with straight away, and that's fair. I'm mostly indifferent, but I had much more interest towards karts in Wii than 8. That doesn't mean that customization's bad, it just isn't for everyone. But surely there isn't a way to appease both crowds. Surely it's either a case of having it or not having it. Well, maybe there's a way to at least frame it in a way that everyone would be happy with. Let's look at arms. Each character in arms has 3 arms that can be chosen, but you're able to unlock every arm for every character eventually. This game was made by the Mario Kart team, so maybe they can bring a similar concept over. That being, every vehicle would have its own unique glider and wheels, and these are essentially the base form of the vehicle. Choosing these vehicles would be just like choosing vehicles in older titles like Wii, DS and Double Dash, except that all characters can use all vehicles rather than them being separated by character or weight class. However, you'd also have the option to customize the vehicle after you've selected it. This is what I mean about framing. This doesn't necessarily change the functionality, but it does mean that people who don't want to customize their vehicle aren't overwhelmed by the options. It might seem like a pointless change, but I think it would improve some people's experience without affecting many others. So why did I mention arms? Well, the ability to customize your kart with parts from other vehicles would be unlockable, in so much as you have to unlock the parts for use on other vehicles. This would also give you more to unlock, and I'm a sucker for having a lot of stuff to unlock. With that out of the way, let's move on to what the vehicles would actually be. These would all be altered to work with the double kart mechanic, but that's not too bad when you consider that Double Dash just had a couple of bars for the back player to stand on and hold on to. Also, not only are bikes returning, but I'm also going to feature a lot of returning vehicles. So let's start with the karts. The first kart, obviously, is going to be the standard kart. The pipe frame from the first 3 games would also be here. I mean, it's a classic, and seeing as it references multiple different games, there's no way I wasn't bringing this back. From 8, we'd have the Koopa Clown, Land Ship, and Biddy Buggy. These are all fairly iconic, and they have great inspirations. The taxi from Tour is also going to be returning. I didn't really care much for returning Tour karts, but I would have included a taxi before I realised it was in Tour, so I might as well. From 7, we have the Bumblebee, Mach 8 and Cloud 9. Again, all quite solid, and I'm personally a fan of the Mach 8. From DS, we would have the B-Dasher, Gold Mantis and Egg 1. Gold Mantis I especially thought would be a cool one to bring back, considering its inspiration goes deeper than just Digger and references Form and Spike. From Double Dash we would have the Barrel Train, Cooper Dasher and Parade Cart. The Parade Cart was such a cool unlockable, so let's bring it back. Finally, from Wii we would have the Royal Racer, Wild Wing, Cheap Charger and Flame Flyer. As for bikes, there's only 2 games from which we can actually choose them, 8 and Wii. Of course, the standard bike would be here, but with a new design. For 8, the returning bikes would be Mr. Scooty, the Duke, Yoshi Bike, and the Jet Bike. Not much to say here, I just thought these were all pretty cool bikes to return. Wii, meanwhile, would have the Bullet Bike, the Magic Cruiser, the Dolphin Dasher, the Bowser Bike, and the Wario Bike. Oh yeah, I'm using the PAL region names because, as with the courses, that's what I'm used to. The Bowser bike is a classic, so that was always going to return, but I also let a little bias come into this. After all, my bike in Wii is the Dolphin Dasher, and my mum refuses to use anything but the Magic Cruiser, so I had to include them both. That's all the old stuff, but I also came up with concepts for the new vehicles too. Some of these are very basic concepts, more about the themes than anything, but I'll go into as much detail as I have. Let's start with the karts. The molehill would be based on the molehills Monty Moles jump out of. A simple concept, but it would be cool to see it with stone wheels. The Fury Rider would be a black, spiked kart based on Fury Bowser. It may or may not be apparent by now, but I really love Bowser's Fury. You can never have enough Bowser's Fury references. The Jackster would be based on the Jaxi from Super Mario Odyssey. I think it would be a shame not to reference a character that was used as a vehicle in one of the most recent mainline Mario games. The Short Fuse would be a big bob-omb kart. At this point I should point out that I didn't necessarily think of signature vehicles for characters, but some of them do kinda work out that way. The Bull Coaster would be based on the Bully, not necessarily in its shape, but it would have horns on it. This was one I quite liked, the Invisikart. Mario Odyssey featured an invisible costume, and I think using that concept for a kart that is invisible would be really cool. Of course, it's only the kart that's invisible, not the player, nor would the wheels or glider if using them from another kart. That way, it doesn't make it harder to see the character when they're racing, but it does make them look stupid. The Zipnip would be based on the turnips from Super Mario Bros. 3. Turnips are surprisingly referenced quite a lot in the Mario series, considering Super Mario Bros. 2 is a mostly underlooked game. Kariboot would be a kart based on the Karibo's boot. I know we already have a shoe-based kart, but this would be a much more solid reference. The Tombstone would be a blending of spooky and Womp elements. I know Womps aren't usually associated with tombstones, but I actually quite like how this comes together. And finally, the Bell Dasher. This would basically be aesthetically based on the Super Bell. For the bikes, we'll start with the Rex Dream. This would be based on the T-Rex from Mario Odyssey. I mean, the T-Rex is one of the most memorable parts of that game. We've got to reference it somehow, and I don't think we're really going to be able to get it in a car. Then we'd have the Plessy-mobile, name pending. This would obviously be based on Plessy from 3D World. I've seen some people suggest that Plessy should be a character. I kinda don't like that because she's kinda big, but as a vehicle, she really works. The Bit Bike would be made to simulate an 8-bit kart by using cubes. It's always nice to have a retro reference in there. Then you'd have the Chiller. I like the idea that this would be aesthetically based on the Ice Flower from Mario Galaxy. Galaxy's Ice Flower is already referenced in Mario Kart Tour as a character, but it would be cool to have it as a vehicle as well. It's quite a nice aesthetic, I think. The Comet Star, meanwhile, would have an aesthetic similar to the Comet Observatory. But it's not just Galaxy, Odyssey, and Bowser's Fury references we want, so that would be where the Shine Cycle comes in. This wouldn't be based on the Shine sprites that are its namesake, rather it would be tropical themed, kinda like Super Mario Sunshine. The Joy-Con would literally be a Joy-Con. Also, the wheels would be the A and B buttons. The Woolly Wheel would be made of, well, wool, and the button wheels could be brought back here. The Crown Jewel would be royal themed. We've had royal vehicles before, but to my knowledge, never a bike. Finally, the Thunderclap. Lightning isn't actually a particularly big thing in Mario, but it is in Mario Kart, so I'm kinda surprised that they've never taken the opportunity to make a lightning-based kart. And that's the vehicles. I know this video's a bit shorter, but realistically there wasn't as much for me to say here. Next time it's Battle Mode, which will also be a shorter video, but hopefully you'll stick around and enjoy that one.